Hey guys, George at SoundTraxx here. This week we want to go back into one of our products that kind of seems to be forgotten a little bit, especially in a lot of these videos with the excitement of the locomotives, which tend to be the stars of your layout. But today we're going to talk about our SoundCar and what that is and what you get when you install SoundCar into your rolling stock. So let's get started. So first off, let's talk about what SoundCar is. Now, SoundCar is a Tsunami decoder that is for the rolling stock. And they're inside the decoder, there are a lot of parameters, just like there are with our locomotive decoders, to customize the sounds so that you get the sound of the respective rolling stock that you're looking to reproduce. Now, the SoundCar is a relatively inexpensive decoder that allows you to plug it in. There are no motor connections for that because, of course, in the rolling stock there is no motor installed. But with the SoundCar, you actually get 4 lighting outputs. So you can do things like cab interior, you can do headlights, backup lights, rear end flashing lights. You can even do alternating flashing ditch lights because you have access to the full complement of different lighting effects that we have in our motor decoders for the locomotives, including the Tsunami, Tsunami 2, Economy, and so forth. But you also have an output for a speaker. Now the speaker would use a typical 1-watt amplifiers, and so therefore you pick a speaker that has 1 watt to fit into your model. Now with our wide range of speakers, should be fairly easy. And with your model, you may or may not already have access to a speaker installed. So for example, this Athearn refrigerator car has a 16 by 35 millimeter oval speaker mount inside the already non-sound equipped models. Now they do offer these with a sound module, but it is not a full sound car. It is just, for lack of a better term, a noisemaker that kind of gives you the sound of the refrigeration unit as it cycles on and off to give you the feeling of a refrigerator car. So these are some of the features that you get with it. The decoder is designed to be small enough and narrow enough that you can fit it into most N-scale boxcars. So the good news is this decoder will fit into all range of sizes, shapes, and scales. Now when it comes to the use of our SoundCar decoder, we simply install it. And an installation is very simple. You do need to have track power pickups to be able to pick up the DCC signal on the rails and transmit that to the decoder. Now the decoder from there is going to follow all the DCC commands sent through the rails to the decoder. Now in this particular case we have a refrigeration unit, and I'm just going to move this locomotive out of the way for a moment, and you can immediately hear that refrigeration unit kick on. Now you can have this sound turn on automatically to simulate just a refrigerator car in general, or you can actually have this sound triggered by a function button on and off so that you can simulate a loaded versus an empty car. Because an empty car traveling halfway across the country, you really don't want to be using the diesel fuel to keep the refrigeration unit going. Now other things we have built into the decoder, of course, is sounds for horn and bell. So you can actually turn on the horn and the bell for things like cab car commuter service or any other type of need. And so in this case I'm going to put this car on the track. Now I'm going to select its address 8750, and when I use the horn, you can hear the horn coming out of the cab car. And we have our access to our bell sounds and everything in there. Now in our SoundCar you do get selectable bells and you do get selectable horns, so you can customize the horn to match the model that you've installed it into. And there's a wide range of different sounds to choose from, and then in the case of the bell you can also adjust the ring rate just like you did with the original Tsunami using CV114. So all of these sounds are on here. Now other things you get is the sound of the peanut whistle. So if you happen to have a Caboose, and on the Caboose, a lot of times, now this is a factory installed Tsunami SoundCar in an Athearn model. Now when I select, in this case I have not programmed the decoder, so we're going to select Loco 3, and now you get that air whistle. So that you can simulate the sounds of the air whistle that would be on there if you were using the Caboose as a shoving platform. So all of these sounds are selectable, and they all have their own volume settings, so you can adjust the volumes down. Now, one of the other things we do have in there are some features built into the decoder that allows you to customize it, because of course all of these cars are a little bit different. So in there you can not only adjust the number of axles and the number of trucks, you can also adjust things such as turning on the sound of a flat spot. you could disable the horn and the bell, or in this case, the air whistle. You can go in and set up the wheel clickety-clack. You can turn on the wheel rolling sound. You can disable the air compressor or the refrigeration unit. And you can even go in and simulate the sound of a flat spot on the wheel. So we've really allowed you to customize this. You can go in and customize the sound to mimic that sound of that particular rolling stock. So that way this car and this car and this car all are using the same decoder, but all three of those cars sound a little bit different. Now, one of the biggest things that we have built into our decoder is what's called intelligent consisting. Now, when it comes to SoundCar, a lot of questions come up is how does the wheel clickety-clack happen? And it's basically following the DCC signal. So when we send a command to that locomotive, or in this case, the SoundCar decoder itself, we can send motor commands. Now, there may not be a motor in it, but it uses that information to recreate the clickety-clack that you would get on the wheels on the car. So to intelligently consist, what we do is we mount the decoder up inside the top of the car so that it's accessible with a magnet. Now, using our DCC system, now I'm going to go ahead and grab my locomotive 63. Now, as many of you keen eyes have noticed, this is the locomotive we've used in several of our Blue Nami videos. And so this is a Blue Nami equipped locomotive, but it does follow the DCC signal until I connect to app. So we are going to use it in DCC mode today. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wave the magnet over the SoundCar decoder. And that's going to trigger the decoder into what's called search mode. And it's basically watching the DCC commands now, looking for a unique string of commands so that it knows where it's going to join. And that unique string of commands is the F8 sent to an address, in this case 8663. We're going to send the F8 command 4 times. So we're going to turn F8 on, off, on, off. When the decoder's searching for that, it sees that sequence of commands, and then it says, aha, I'm supposed to follow 8663. And we can do that with one car at a time, or we can do that with a whole string of cars. It's really up to you and how many of these SoundCar decoders you have in your train. Now, what we're going to do is when we wave the magnet over, you're going to hear the sound of the handbrake release, and that's your audio cue to let you know that it's ready to go for search mode. And when you do that, you have a 1-minute window to press the F8 command, and that would give you time to then add in multiple cars. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and add these 2 cars to the sequence. So we're going to wave our magnet, and that would be the handbrake setting. So this was already equipped into the consist. So we just took it out. So we're going to do this again. There's the sound of the handbrake release. We're going to do this again to this cab car. Now, as I mentioned, I have a 1-minute window. So to address 63 or 8663 on my throttle here, I'm going to hit F8, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you hear the retainers bleed off, and that's your audio cue to let you know that it's joined a train. So we're going to go ahead and couple. We're going to start our prime mover. And now when I move the train back and forth, you're actually going to hear the wheel clickety-clack coming out of the SoundCar as it follows the DCC commands for my locomotive that's on the front. So we're going to go ahead and start moving at about speed step 10. And you can hear the clickety-clack and the flange squeal as it kicks on as these cars are rolling following the DCC command. And when I bring the train to a stop, you'll hear those wheel clickety-clacks stop in conjunction with the sound of the locomotive moving. Now, the really cool factor is we can add another car onto the train even though we already have cars here. So the intelligent consisting simply allows me to add another car. And again, let's get it on the track. So we're going to wave our magnet again over the sensor. So now we hear that sound click in. Now, again, we're not touching these cars. We're only going to send the command to 8663. And again, F8 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you hear the sound of the retainers. Now all 3 of these cars are tied into the train. So now we're going to go ahead and move in the reverse direction. And you can hear, I'm not sure why my locomotive's not running, but you can hear the clickety-clack of the wheels of these cars as they're running, and that would be simulating the sound of the train running. So we bring the train to a stop, and when we set our brakes, you hear the brakes set on the cars, and those wheels will then come to a stop. Now when we want to release, we simply wave our magnet over the decoder. You hear the handbrake release, or the handbrake tighten down. That's your audio cue to let you know that the decoder is now independent again. I'm going to do that again, and then we're going to do that on our caboose. Just like that. And now these cars are independent. So now when I try to run my locomotive, now my locomotive decided to start joining the fray. But now you're not hearing the clickety-clack from the cars of the locomotive as they're being sent. So now they're free, independent cars. So this kind of gives you a feel for how to use the SoundCar, kind of gives you an idea of all the features that we've built into this and all the cool different lighting effects that we've talked about. SoundCar really is a great addition to your layout and helps give you the sounds of the rest of the train. So for more information, please visit our website at SoundTraxx.com. Be sure to check out the SoundCar User's Guide so that way you can get more information on how to set it up, installation tips and things like that. We've also got several videos also on our YouTube channel here that you can watch about SoundCar. So guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.